Well, it's Groundhog Day. Again. And that must mean that I am Professor Robert E.G. Black, and this is the Groundhog Day Project.
It's one of those infinite time loop situations you might have heard about.
It's a thing where the same day keeps happening.
Time.
I wake up every day right here, right in Punxsutawney, and it's always February 2nd.
The last revision is what counts, apparently.
Minute 22 of Groundhog Day starts with Phil's chances of getting out of town and ends with insurance. I guess it's all about the numbers, despite my rant a few episodes ago about how you shouldn't be doing the numbers of the math on how long Phil's in the time loop, but don't worry about that yet because Phil's only been in the time loop for a little over 24 hours. But minute 22 begins. He is leaving the Cherry Street Inn, and he just said the chance of departure is 80%. He starts to walk away, but turns back again, 75, 80, and then he heads out. Then we get exterior as he's coming out of the Cherry Street, seeing the people on the street, and oh look, he doesn't know her yet, but that's Mary, the piano teacher, and she is crossing the intersection, and he says, excuse me, where is everybody going? And she says it like it's the most obvious thing ever because you're in Punxsutawney and everyone goes. I'm not sure if this is true, by the way. At the time when this film was made, even before this film popularized even more the idea of Groundhog Day, I believe thousands, maybe even 10,000 or more, I forget the numbers, people would go to Punxsutawney every year for this occasion. And now I think since the movie, it sometimes gets much bigger than that even. You get 1,000 or more, I don't know how to measure crowds myself, and I was right in the middle of the crowd, so I don't know how big it was. But you get quite a lot of people going to Woodstock as well for Groundhog Day to see Woodstock Willie. I don't know that there were a lot of locals there. As soon as the festivities were over, in Woodstock at least, the town got really quiet. Like everyone else was just going about their regular day. They were at work or they were at school or wherever they were.
Interrupting my guesses at numbers, because I figured this was a useful thing to have actual numbers. Take them with a grain of salt because sources vary on what they say. Purportedly, before the film was released, you would get somewhere around 5,000 to 10,000 people showing up in Punxsutawney for the event, and averaging 35,000 after that. And just this year, 2025, set a record at somewhere around 52,000. Last year, in Woodstock, had 24,000. That's kind of crazy for me because I would have guessed maybe 2,000-3,000. I don't know. As I said in the recording, when you're in the middle of the crowd, it's hard to gauge the size of it. And it dissipated quickly. Anyway, when was I there? I was there, Groundhog Day was a Sunday. That was 2014. So they shouldn't have had school. They shouldn't have had work, but I guess they were doing whatever they do at home on a Sunday and being pretty quiet. And it felt like the locals weren't the ones that were out there doing things. The implication in the movie is cuter. The idea that the locals all love Groundhog Day and they all show up. Even Gus and Ralph, we don't know that they like the holiday, but they're eating at the diner, which is right on the square. And if you're going to eat on the square and be amongst that crowd, you either really love that diner, which that might be their thing, or they were also at the festivities. And I'm guessing they were at the festivities because that just fits the rest of the town. They love Groundhog Day, which makes it even worse for Phil. Because now Mary says to Gobbler's Knob, it's Groundhog Day. Like, duh. And he's still challenging the realities. And it's still just once a year, isn't it? And of course, we don't get her answer, and I doubt she had an answer. She probably just kept walking. Maybe looked at him like he's a crazy person. A little like Man in Hallway looked at him a minute ago or 2 minutes ago, whenever that was. Then we go to exterior street corner where we are at the northeast corner of the town square of Woodstock, Illinois. You know how many times I've looked at a map of Woodstock, Illinois and this square? I shouldn't mess up the description of where things are. But he comes around the corner. We got the same cars, same people as yesterday. The old man's on the corner. Believe we might see this minute Phil sign girl. I call her that because she has a sign that just says Phil. At this point in the film, she is back there walking screen left to screen right with a friend. Later in the film, she doesn't have that friend anymore.
And you gotta wonder, what did Phil do that took that friend out of the game? Or what did that friend do? Maybe that friend is going through a time loop as well. Does Phil sign girl's friend? Or maybe Phil sign girl's going through something. I don't know. We don't need to talk about them now because we cut to Ned out in the street. Hey! And then we cut back to Phil. Then we cut to Ned again. Phil, hey, Phil Connors. I thought that was you. And he's over there coming at Phil again. Phil doesn't stop to talk to him. He just walks. But of course, we already know Ned's going to keep up. My, oh my, Phil Connors. Wow. Don't you say you don't remember me, because I sure as heck if I remember you. Well, thing is, now Phil does remember him from yesterday. Ned Ryerson? Bing! Oh, first shot right out of the box. So how's it going, old buddy? Well, he calls him old buddy. Well, to tell you the truth, Nettie, I'm not feeling real well. Would you excuse me? Well, it's funny you should mention your health, because you will never guess what I do now. Do you sell insurance? We won't get Ned's response, but of course he's going to say Bing. Because that's what he does. But Phil is playing it already. He's panicking on the inside, but on the outside he's still putting it together. He's like, okay, I see what it doesn't make any sense, but I see what it is. And what it is reality is repeating. His reality is repeating in the worst possible place, where he's got to deal with strangers. He's got to deal with people we went to high school with that he doesn't remember. He's got to deal with old ladies that just want to make small talk. He's got to deal with chubby men in hallways. I don't even know if that's small talk. If you really see, I'm staying at a bed and breakfast and I pass someone in the hallway, am I going to stop and be like, off to see the groundhog? Maybe. But also that's a weird question when you yourself are walking upstairs to your room and clearly not off to see the groundhog. What are you there for? It is panic. It is rapid. Imagine this, man. I know that it's the movie, and there's many time loop movies, many time loop TV episodes, many time loop video games. But this right here, it's like you wake up in the morning and your routine's the same every day. But imagine if it is so the same today that you notice. For me to notice, like this morning, my alarms were the same time they were yesterday. 6:11, 6:22, 6:33. I was out of bed by 6:20, so I only heard the first one. And it was just vibrating. Well, it does make noise, but it's pretty quiet. And I'm up by 6:20. I'm down in the kitchen feeding the cats. I'm going to do that every day. I'm taking some antihistamine. I do that every morning. I go make some coffee to put in my, what's this called, a Stanley mug thing here. I think there's something wrong with that company that people are boycotting them, but I already had this thing when that happened, and I'm not going to stop using it, but I've already got it. It works pretty well. And it's useful. Right now it's got water in it because it's noon right now when I'm recording. You might have heard in the background just now the clock tower bell ringing because there's a clock tower here. But I already drank the coffee that was in it, and then I refilled it at the water bottle filling fountain in the building where my morning class was. And I will drink the water through my afternoon class, and then I will go home. I mean, I'll be teaching the afternoon class as well, but talking about the drink over here. So I will make coffee every morning if it's a weekday. At that time, I will have the alarms on that day. So if the alarm is on the same day, my morning routine is mostly the same, except you know what I do while the coffee's making? Is I might sit down on the little stepladder in the kitchen and check Twitter, see what's going on, see who's bombing who today, see what horrible decisions happen in the Supreme Court, or what bad thing Trump has claimed he has the authority to do, or some other senator has claimed Trump has the authority to do, or what have you. I don't mean to be political about it, but that would be how I would tell it's a different day, is I would have to double check if it felt like we'd skipped ahead a little.
Interrupting again because that phrase did not make any sense. It's not skipping ahead a little, it would be skipping backward. The trouble being that the news cycle does repeat a bit, which I think I'm about to say, so back to me.
But even then I might not notice, because Twitter is often the same stuff, as I said. Who's bombing who today? What horrible thing did ICE do today, or do last night that is getting reported today? And that's going to be every day right now. I guess the first indicator I would get is when I get in the car and plug in my phone and it starts auto-playing a podcast from where I last left off, and it's the wrong podcast. It's the show I listened to yesterday. And then I'm like, well, why is that happening? And so before I pull out of my parking space and leave, I'm going to switch it back to the earlier one. And then reality kind of resets for me where I just think it's a glitch. And I think, oh, I'm back where I'm supposed to be. I'm listening to the show I didn't listen to before. Wait, did I just say that backward? That I would purposely put on the one I already heard? No, I would skip past the one I've already heard, which is even easier. I just go click on the next one in my queue and be like, I don't know why it's trying to play the old one again. And I'm just moving on and still not noticing. So then I'm driving to work. And do I notice the cars on the road specifically? Not most mornings. Maybe if there's an accident or traffic buildup somewhere or some car, I was going to say horrible car, cuts me off, or there's police action on the freeway or some truck pulled over. I might remember that, but also that I live in LA. I'm seeing stuff like that every day too. So still, I wouldn't be panicking. I wouldn't be noticing. Even if I happen to notice the date on my phone, I probably wouldn't immediately notice that it's wrong. Because how often am I thinking about what the date is? So I wouldn't notice till I'm in class. And then I start class by, like today, I'd be like, okay, let's finish up the speeches. And my students would be like, shouldn't we start the speeches? Because I think it's day 2 and they think it's day 1. And then I check Canvas and see that no one has points for their speech yet, and it is day 1. And at that point, I'm like, wait. And it's like Phil with Chubby Man, where his impulse is to throw him up against the wall and be like, what the hell's going on here? That's not what he said, but like that's the thing. You want to challenge, you want to ask, you want to interrogate. You're like, why are you all working together to make me freak the fuck out? Then, because I'm me, because I'm autistic and have ADHD and am very familiar with time loop films and TV episodes and video games. Got a great list on IMDb. If you need the link, contact me on social media, Robert E.G. Black, and I'll send you the link because that list gets updated whenever I find a new one. But I'm very familiar with time loops, and so I'm prepared for this. In fact, I have a code where if someone else is in a time loop, you lucky bastards, and you convince me on one iteration of the loop. So one resumption, you know some private thing about me that I told you the day before that, and I don't remember it because I wasn't in it. I'm not in the loop. I'm just in life. But you convince me that you're in a time loop, then I'll tell you the code. And then the next day, all you gotta do is tell me the code, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. What was the movie? Oh, shoot. Is it The Map of Tiny Perfect Things? Where his friend playing the video games just, believes him? Or maybe he doesn't even believe him. They just have the conversation as a sort of hypothetical. Maybe that was it. I just remember the tone being really casual of them talking about time loops and what you do if you're in one. But that first day, it's going to take a little while for me to realize it's repeating. I would just assume the podcasting is a glitch, and otherwise my mornings are kind of repetitive anyway. Right now, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, my morning is the same until I'm in class with my students. So unless there's some specific thing on Twitter where I'm like, wait, how do we get to that? Or what happened with this and there's no update? Or whatever it is that I'm confused about the time frame. But even then, unlikely. It's going to come down to my students and the larger reality of more people. Even parking in the same parking space when I get here. That parking space is open doesn't mean anything. I'm still parking it. I got to park in the space on the end. And I do the same thing tomorrow if that space was open. So, yeah, I wouldn't notice for a while. Maybe that's the same for you. You wouldn't notice until you're at work. You wouldn't notice until you're at that thing that is at least slightly different every day. And if you do data entry like I did back in my teens and early 20s, you might not even notice then. Yeah. The fact that Phil's panicking is because there were already triggers. There were already signs. His stuff was in a different place than he left it in his room. They were playing the same radio show. Chubby Man showed up and asked the same questions. Mrs. Lancaster spoke and said the same things. And Mary told him everyone's on their way to Gobbler's Knob because it's Groundhog Day. Chubby Man asked about Groundhog Day, off to see the groundhog. Mrs. Lancaster said he hopes he enjoys the festivities. And then Mary confirms they're going to Gobbler's Knob for Groundhog Day. It's not right. And now, Phil's got 3. That's a pattern. Never mind the radio. That could have been just a weird repetition because they were off that day. Now it's confirmed. And then he gets Ned. Insult to injury. Ned's still there. This is the same day again, and it sucks. And that's all I got for minute 22. So, until next time, watch more movies.
Knew you were gonna say that.
This has been a production of Lemming Drops Studio. You can find links to more at lemmingdrops.com or join the Facebook group Lemming Drops Studio Tour. Also, you can support all my shows at patreon.com/lemmingdrops.
What is wrong in the end which never comes? Or which comes again and again, lapping, like waves.
Since the Big Bang set everything in motion, everything that happens in this universe has to be the way it is. Particles unfolding the way they're destined to.
How do you sleep at night? You've never seen Groundhog Day?
Yeah, you know Groundhog Day is not a documentary.
Remember when Groundhog Day was just a movie?